The woman charged with manslaughter, accused of distracted driving. Here's the verdict on one of her charges this morning, but the jury could not reach a verdict on the most severe charges. 13 News reporter J.D. Wallace is live downtown at Superior Court with the challenge they face. J.D.
Brooke, 2 weeks of 2 weeks of testimony and 2 days of deliberation ended with mostly a hung jury.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action upon our oaths, do find the defendant, Jana Giron, no verdict of the offense of manslaughter of Caitlin Festerling as alleged in count 1 of the indictment.
The jury reached no verdict in both counts of manslaughter, both counts of criminal damage, and the count of endangerment. They did convict her for tampering with physical evidence on accusation she hid text messages from the police. A juror who spoke to me off camera after the trial said there were many definitions that the jurors could not decide on because manslaughter means Giron knew her actions would result in death based on the judgment of a reasonable person, and she texted and drove anyway. They were also hung on lesser charges of negligent homicide. Prosecutors say Giron rear-ended an Acura driven by Caitlin Festerling and carrying Paul Garcia on November 2019. The Acura was turning left and upon impact entered the lane of oncoming traffic where it was hit broadside by a pickup truck traveling in the opposite direction, killing Festerling and Garcia. A defense attorney outside of this case explains the jury has to decide if Giron's actions were a gross deviation from what a reasonable person would do.
What would a reasonable person in the circumstances do? That's the jury. The jury is the reasonable person. Was it a substantial and unjustifiable risk? Was it a gross deviation? Those are things that jurors have to ask themselves and be unanimous on if they're going to convict someone.
The Pima County Attorney Office said it will pursue a retrial on the charges with no verdict, saying the other charges of reckless manslaughter, criminal damage, and endangerment resulted in a no verdict hung jury. Pima County prosecutors will pursue a new trial in the case. The sentencing and the pretrial hearing for that new trial is scheduled for September 9th. And coming up on 13 News Live at 5, you're going to hear how the use of cell phones today could actually influence the jury's decision on what a reasonable person would do. Live downtown, J.D. Wallace, 13 News.